Let's be clear. Martin Luther King Jr. isn't on trial here. The FBI is. And these newly released files prove it.
For being here. Sorry.
You're good to go. I just want to add to the record, this was submitted to us. To the members of the Committee on Oversight and Government Reform, we are here to answer the question, what do the declassified MLK records reveal and why do they matter? These documents are significant because of what they reveal to the American people about the Federal Bureau of Investigation. I submit that there are 3 facts that the American people need to know to contextualize these records. First, the FBI is the main actor within this historical drama, not Dr. King. The Modern Freedom of Information and Privacy Act was signed into law so the American people could petition for U.S. executive branch agency records to hold our government accountable to the rule of law. When President Johnson signed FOA into law, he stated, "This legislation springs from one of our most essential principles. A democracy works best when the people have all the information that the security of the nation permits. Americans should always read executive branch agency records with an eye toward government malfeasance. Dr. King is not the one on trial here. Rather, it is the actions of the FBI. Second, the American people need to know that the declassified and classified MLK records reveal the extreme measures the FBI undertook to destroy a private citizen due to political and ideological differences. As both the U.S. House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence and the U.S. Senate Select Committee on Study Governmental Operations with respect to intelligence activities revealed, the campaign to investigate King was not based on criminal activity or legitimate national security concerns. Division 5 of the FBI, under the guidance of Special Agent William Sullivan, concluded early in the investigation that allegations of communist infiltration and collaboration were unfounded. Surveillance persisted because of FBI Director J. Edgar Hoover's personal animosity for King because King's politics of freedom, justice, and equality for all, regardless of race, ran counter to Hoover's politics. The FBI unleashed a deliberate campaign to undermine a Black freedom movement under the guise of national security. The investigation against King was not conducted in good faith. Much of the information contained in the files falls under the legal doctrine of fruit of the poisonous tree. In 1975, Deputy Associate Director James Adams testified before a U.S. Senate Select Committee to study governmental operations with respect to intelligence activities, stating, and I quote, "There were approximately 25 incidents of actions taken to discredit Dr. King. I see no statutory basis or no basis of justification for the activity. The FBI was not gathering information for prosecution or other legal ends. As Sullivan noted in an FBI memo 2 days after King's I Have a Dream address, the Bureau considered it unrealistic to limit their investigation to legalistic proof of or definitely conclusive evidence that would stand up in testimony in court or before congressional committees. Instead, the FBI turned to wiretaps, bugs, and clandestine monitoring to obtain or create personal information the Bureau believed would discredit Dr. King. These actions were extralegal by design and violated the Constitution. The FBI claimed to defend. The American people need to understand that the information the FBI claims to have uncovered was intended to coerce Dr. King and to discredit him in the eyes of his wife, faith communities, and the general American public. If such data was not strong enough to stand up to scrutiny in a court of law when it was obtained, we should seriously consider how it will be unleashed and weaponized in a court of public opinion. Finally, the American people need to know that the declassified and classified records have living victims. While Dr. King was the immediate target, the FBI's dragnet ensnared so many more. The victims of this story are not abstractions. They are living people who were denied privacy, dignity, and justice. This includes the King children, 2 of whom are still living, since the King's family home telephone was wiretapped. It is very likely that the voices, laughter, and cries of these innocent children were heard, recorded, and documented by the federal government simply because their father led a nonviolent protest movement to push America to be true to its founding documents. We must always center the voices and rights of those harmed. If we are serious about democratic accountability, no matter which party is in power, then the disclosure of executive branch agency records, such as those that are being discussed this morning, must be accompanied by truth-telling. The American people must have all the information necessary to maintain a functioning, deliberate democracy in which those who are Those who govern are accountable to the governed. If not, this historical saga we are discussing today will continue to haunt us in the form of unchecked government power. Thank you. This was a statement from Lerone Martin, director of the MLK Research and Education Institute at Stanford University. I then have a couple of UCs, and we can wrap. I asked for unanimous consent to enter into the record a NBC News article titled, "Trump is turning Dr. King's dream into a nightmare. Did civil rights martyrs die in vain?"
Without objection.
I asked for unanimous consent to enter into the record a New York Times article titled, "The Many Political Interpretations of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s Legacy."
Without objection.
The next one is a Times article titled, "With MLK Files Released, Trump Plays Fire with a Legacy Whose Importance He Doesn't Fully Grasp."
Without objection.
There's another one where it says, "Trump says DEI civil rights policies hurt white people. Do they?"
Without objection.
This one is from the ACLU. It says, "Trump's attempt to roll back key civil rights enforcement tool."
Without objection.
CNN article, "Judge deals blow to Trump Justice Department's use of Civil Rights Act to clean voter rolls."
Without objection.
And the final one is from the Southern Poverty Law Center, and it's titled, "Trump Executive Action on Voting Explained."
Without objection.
And with that, I will yield.
In closing, I want to thank our
This wasn't about national security. It wasn't about communism. And it was never about protecting America. As Representative Jasmine Crockett lays out with chilling clarity, the declassified MLK files expose something far more dangerous: a federal government willing to destroy a private citizen simply because his ideas threatened those in power. The first fact the American people must understand is this: Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. is not the subject on trial. The FBI is. These files exist because transparency laws were designed to expose government abuse, not to smear the victims of it. When President Lyndon Johnson signed the Freedom of Information Act, he made clear that democracy only works when citizens can scrutinize the actions of those who govern them. And when you read these records through that lens, a disturbing pattern emerges. The second fact is even more damning. The FBI knew there was no legitimate reason to investigate Dr. King and continued anyway. Internal FBI assessments concluded early on that claims of communist infiltration were unfounded, yet surveillance intensified, not because of evidence, but because of J. Edgar Hoover's personal hatred for King's message of equality, justice, and freedom. This was not law enforcement. This was retaliation. Wiretaps, bugs, covert monitoring, psychological warfare. The goal was not prosecution, it was humiliation, coercion, destruction. The Bureau openly admitted it was not seeking evidence that could stand up in court. Instead, it collected and manufactured material meant to discredit King publicly, weaponizing private moments against him and his family. These actions weren't just unethical, they were unconstitutional by design. And that leads to the third and most overlooked truth. These files still have living victims: Dr. King's children, his family, his community. Their private conversations, laughter, grief, innocence were monitored and recorded by the federal government simply because their father dared to demand America live up to its founding ideals. This is not ancient history. This is a warning, because if government abuse is revealed without truth-telling, without context, it becomes a tool for manipulation instead of accountability. And unchecked power doesn't disappear. It evolves. What Crockett makes unmistakably clear is this: if we fail to confront what the government did to Dr. King honestly, we guarantee that history will repeat itself under new names, new technologies, and new justifications. Democracy doesn't die in silence. It dies when power is never held accountable.